Hey guys, welcome to the Nick Bahe YouTube page. You know what you need to do. You need to subscribe, you need to ring the bell, you need to like the page, you need to leave a comment. I appreciate you. All right, here we go. Let's both take a drink before we do this. Let's both take a drink. We're ready to go. We're ready to do it. Nebraska Wisconsin Game Recap. I mean, it is full-fledged Groundhog's Day at this point a little bit. We're Bill Murray. I got you, babe. Have we already done that joke before? Like, I don't even know. Have we done that before? I think we have.
I think we've talked Groundhog's Day. I'm not even kidding you. I was just thinking about Groundhog's Day to discuss because it is, how do you talk about this insane repetitive behavior? But the part about Groundhog's Day that I think is sticking out to me is not just we're reliving the same day. It's Nebraska is like Bill Murray, who has played a guy named Phil Connors.
Yeah.
And Phil every day tried to, get this girl to love him.
Yes.
And no matter what he tried that part of it is what it feels like. No matter how many times we try, we can't win the one score game. Like whatever we try, it's not going to work. So like that to me, I thought about that. I go, yeah, it's like that.
It is like that. No matter what he does, he can't get the girl. And no matter what Nebraska does, they can't get the one score game. They just can't do it.
Make that last play to get the girl. They can't get the girl.
Well, I guess you and I didn't really talk. We went to dinner on Friday, but we discussed a little Nebraska football, but we didn't talk very much like, hey, what do you expect? I didn't know what to expect with this game because you eliminated the ability to go to a bowl game. So that carrot was no longer dangling. You just fired 4 assistant coaches. Jojo Doman is out. Like, I kind of wondered about the psyche of the team, the organization of the staff. Yeah. Like, I didn't know what to expect. So I guess for me, this was the first game in a while that I was like, you know what? I could see this game getting out of hand. And then, so I don't know. How did you feel going in?
Similar to you, I would say if with a opening play kickoff return for a touchdown and feeling like you did, it's like, could we get beat by 50 today?
Right.
So our performance with the circumstances and that kickoff was actually a pleasant surprise in a lot of ways. But in the end, it ended up being Phil Connors not getting
and woke up the next day. Same thing, having to do it all over again. That's what happened.
And so maybe we can talk about Groundhog's Day later about how he actually gets
how he does it. I don't know. Yeah, maybe that's what.
And maybe there's some sort of like symbolism that will carry over to Nebraska. I don't know.
I really think we've already talked about Groundhog's Day before to open up the pod. I'm almost positive
there's a good chance we have.
I mean, but that's at this point we've all lost our minds. I do think like I wrote down a couple of notes to kind of get into it. You brought it up like Nebraska almost beat Wisconsin. Despite all the stuff we just laid out, can't go to a bowl, 4 fired assistant coaches, their best defensive players out. Like, they also had 2 turnovers, gave up a kickoff return for a touchdown, had 2 empty trips into the red zone, really 3 trips inside to the 30 and into with 0 points. You get stuffed on 4th and 2 at the 6-yard line. You got the ball to the 31 and then went backwards and had to punt. And then obviously the final drive of the game. It's just amazing how this team can shoot itself in the foot over and over and over and over again. And yet, so they're bad enough to do that, but they're good enough to overcome that and at least get to where like they got a chance to win these games.
Nick, that's the number 1 defense in America.
Right. And they by a long margin too. Like they are way above the rails.
We put up yards on them and we scored 28. And we put up a ton of yards. But yet we can't win. Like just like Adrian Martinez, we are so good and so not good all the same time every week consistently.
Right.
But we can't be consistent at just playing good.
Right.
Like we can only be consistent at being really good and really bad.
It feels like, in the NBA, they do things like, Ernie would be like, all right, Chuckster.
Yeah. Ernie, I don't know, Ernie.
Let me tell you something. First of all, let me tell you something, Ernie. But the whole concept, like best to never win it. Like best player to never win it. Best team to never win it. Like at this point, Nebraska has to be the greatest 3-8 team of all time.
I'd put us up there against a lot of teams. I mean,
I have a hard time feeling like there's, in the history of college football, there's a better 3-8 football team.
Because we've had the hardest schedule that I think I can remember us ever having.
Right.
Truthfully. I mean,
yes,
this is the hardest in my lifetime, I think, for Nebraska in terms of like, it's Oklahoma,
Ohio State, Michigan State, Wisconsin, like
all in the top 10 or 15, all
Right.
those teams, a lot in the top 10, right? And we've, in a lot of ways, outplayed them all and, had our these barely losses. It's bizarre. There's almost no words for what this year's been.
that's why I don't even know. I sit down to like write down what we're going to talk about, and it's like you're at a loss for words.
But here's the part that's, I think, still at least interesting is we're not just getting killed where people are like, I've given up in Nebraska football. It's like you're still in it because it's always close. And as a fan, it's still hurting more because we're almost there. Being almost there is in a lot of ways more painful than just like, it doesn't matter. We don't even have a chance.
Right. I think, well, because a couple of things to drive home that point. I mean, because I know we say this every week, but Nebraska could have wins over Oklahoma, Ohio State, Michigan State, Wisconsin. I get it. If, ands, buts, whatever that saying is. But like, I mean, Nebraska's 3-8, Wisconsin's 8-3. I didn't see an enormous gap between, I didn't see the type of gap that those records would indicate, I guess. No. And then we'll get to this maybe at the end of it, but this is what I'm about to tell you is a perfect example of, we're talking about the greatest 3-8 team of all time. Iowa's 9-2. Iowa's coming to Lincoln, Nebraska to take on the 3-8 Nebraska Cornhuskers. Nebraska's favored by 4. We think about that.
Our players think we're going to beat him. I heard Toure had a quote. He's like, if we come out like this against Iowa, we'll beat him. And I'm just like, you're 3-8. They're
9-2.
They're 9-2.
And at one point they were second in the country, weren't they?
Yeah.
And then they stopped getting like 11 interceptions a game.
This doesn't make sense, Nick. It doesn't make sense.
Right. I mean, in the eyes, I should text my Vegas guy and be like, in the history of football, has a 3-8 team ever been favored over a 9-2 team?
Never for like this is just their team versus our team, not like their quarterback and running back got to
no.
Like, it is just like an even head-to-head matchup.
And so I think in some ways when I saw that opening line, I think it does kind of validate in a weird way the narratives and stuff we've all been telling ourselves, like, man, I think Nebraska's actually not bad.
Nick, I didn't know that. I can't even believe that. I can't believe it.
But that should be like, Vegas doesn't care about like,
they don't care
about the Frost.
They're not Husker fans.
They don't care about that.
They're not Husker fans.
Yeah.
They care about money, and they bet on what is going to happen most likely. They think Nebraska's going to win.
Vinny baseball bat and Johnny gonna go ruffle him up, or aren't sitting there like
forget about Frost. And say he can coordinate 450 yards. That's they're due. Let
me tell you something. I can give two nickels in a slot machine about any of that stuff in '97. But I watched this guy Toure.
My guy Billy 2 times. He tells me twice. Once, twice. He says 2 times. He says Husker's gonna win. Husker's gonna win twice.
Funny how? I make you laugh. Am I a clown? I amuse you.
But that's blows my mind, man.
But that blows my mind. I don't know what that really means, but it's got to mean something of what we've been telling ourselves.
It's Vegas,
they have to be the greatest 3-8 team of all time, because again, I can look into this camera, you can look into that camera, and you can say Nebraska could have beaten Oklahoma, Ohio State, Michigan State, and Wisconsin. But here's the thing. It's the same. I don't even know, like, well, we can game plan here. Like I wrote down, we can kind of hammer through drive by drive a little bit. I don't know if the details are everything right now or nothing right now. I don't know.
I don't know that. I'd love to hear just some big picture stuff on our offense and our defense.
Well, okay. So do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because the one thing that is amazing though, is that it continues to be the same stuff that beats you every week. It's a different thing that may pop up. Now this week, it was a little interesting with, I thought they hadn't taken on. I'm not so sure this guy. I mean, he's probably not better than Kenneth Walker. But Braylon Allen, bro.
I'll tell you what, the guy from Michigan State's got more hype to him. This was the guy that I thought was hardest to tackle all year.
Yes.
Nobody wanted to tackle him. And I thought this was, if I'm going to be critical of our defense ever, this is the week. I thought they looked a little bit like not their toughest selves. It looked a little soft at a few spots. Like we just looked like we didn't want to tackle at a few spots.
It looked like, and he's one of those guys, and you were an all Big 12 linebacker, so you would probably know what it's like. I mean, Adrian Peterson, you tell me stories about that. Like, there's certain guys you can't, the whole like fly down and just launch into them, that shit ain't gonna work. Like,
no. And that's
it was a lot of that.
There was too much of that with how big and good that guy was, where you're better off, okay, eat it, let him drag you a couple yards, but you're holding on, he's going down, rather than like you make a big hit on that guy. Like, I don't know. I mean, and you don't go high and hit high on him. Like, you wrap this guy.
Right.
You either go low or you wrap, but you cannot, like, you've got to be like, your hands have to get around him and you got to hold on.
Because there were numerous times, like, 2 of his touchdowns, they had a chance to hit him at the line. Like, well, I guess one of them, the one it was like 3rd and 2, and he popped a 50-yarder.
Yep.
Or it might have been a 70-yarder. But someone had a chance to hit him in the backfield and didn't get him. And then there was the one down by the goal line. Someone came and stood him up at the goal line, but he just hit him and bounced off him and went in. So yeah, I mean, I guess like listen, if there's one side of the ball and one, like the Blackshirts have earned, like I am not ready to turn on the mics and like criticize them, but nevertheless, I'm with you. It was probably their poorest tackling game.
Against a really good back. I mean, they couldn't throw the ball unless worth the dang.
No.
Like we did a good job, other than I thought we just didn't tackle, and we were a little bit I didn't think we were quite as physical as we needed to be up front.
And I mean, they have a lot, like the one thing you got, like, and that's what they do. Yeah. They have a way of making everybody look like, why can't we get off blocks? Why can't we tackle? It's like, well, that's kind of like what they do.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it's like what we've done such a good job all year doing was because we couldn't. Just where like we took a step back, but really the rest of the game was like it was sort of what they do. They did what they did, except for like giving up 2 long touchdowns.
Well, yeah, you gave up two long touchdown runs. You gave up an Adrian's interception that gets returned to their side of the field, and then a kickoff return. So, like, other than that, we're sitting here acting like the Blackshirts were out there like...
No, they weren't terrible.
And whiff McGee with another whiff, and there is juked out Johnny, and he got juked out. It wasn't like that, but it was... I just can't believe that dude's 17 years old.
He's a big kid too. I mean, that dude. I mean, we're gonna see that guy for 2 more years now. Great, because it's like I always prefer playing the little guys versus the big guys.
You would know better than I mean,
those big dudes when they get rolling.
He just looks like not fun to tackle at all.
You could see a few times where our guys are going.
Talk me through the long run that they creased off tackle for the game winner. What the off tackle to make it 35-28 with 4 minutes left.
They blocked it just right, but I mean, in the end, it's like I think we had somebody sort of like.
It looked like Reimer kind of not set the edge, but he got in the right fit, and it looked like Henrich. Someone got to the second level and sealed Henrich.
Yeah, well, and then Henrich took on. It looked like Henrich took on a guard, but he was supposed to. I think he was supposed to maybe keep flowing. So they blocked it up well, but really what had to happen was a safety has got to just get him down.
That's his play.
I mean, you give up 20 yards, but he's going down.
Right.
And so that was one of the plays where you go, look, I think that's where Williams being out hurt, because Williams has done a good job all year of like.
Was that Farmer?
Farmer. Yeah. Farmer had a rough game. He struggled.
He's better in against the pass, probably.
I think he struggles against coming up and filling. Well, I mean, I just saw a few times he needs to come tackle,
right?
And he just like he doesn't have a feel for it.
Because it looked like one of those plays that everything was. It was a good. They blocked it well, and the last line of defense oftentimes is that safety, and he was a little tardy to the party.
Well, and he didn't bring it like he didn't like if you were like Miles. your life depends on getting him down.
Right.
Like he could have got him down. I think.
Right.
I think he just his mentality going that was bad. Like Williams, I'll say is if you've watched Williams all year, he's actually done a great job. I bet you he had 5 to 10 of those plays where it's him as the last line of defense and the sideline,
right?
And he just sort of has this little move he does where he kind of runs slow, but he takes the angle, uses the out of bounds,
right?
And he gets the guy down,
right?
That's your job,
right?
If you're the last line of the defense, it doesn't need to look pretty. You need to get him down or out of bounds,
right?
That's it. And I think Farmer, he got his head on the other side, and he just went in kind of soft. Like you got to go in, like use the out of bounds. And you cannot let that guy go.
Right. Yeah. I mean, let's say the whole process of getting him out of bounds, if you give up 7-8 more yards, whatever, but like he can't bust it.
No, he can't score there. And, it was a tie game at that moment.
Yes.
It's a tie game, and you let him, in a position where he's not running right at you. You got the angle, you got the sideline. Like he's got to get tackled there.
Did you think they missed JoJo? Did you notice
Always.
any time like
I think JoJo's our best playmaker.
Right.
Period. Cam Taylor-Britt's number 2, but like we just don't have a lot of guys that like go make a play. JoJo can go make a play. JoJo can make a pick, can get a sack, he can force a fumble.
Right.
Nobody else is doing that, and he's also a good tackler. So when he's out, we're not dynamic. We got to be a lunch pail team. And then we didn't tackle well. And so like you add that up, gave up some big runs, I don't
know. The more we talk it out though, it's like 2 big runs, interception sets up a touchdown, kickoff return. And then like in the meantime, it wasn't great. They missed a field goal, but like 2 4th down stops were big.
Yeah.
4th and 6, Cam Taylor-Britt broke up a pass to a guy that had it, but he arm fought him all the way through. They tried to do a fullback dive at midfield, and Nebraska blew it up, and Reimer was able to then bring the guy down. So I mean,
they did their part to be in the game.
It's just too bad that it's that last one. It's 28-28, and you give up a 70-yarder or whatever it was.
Yeah, that one
50-yard.
That's frustrating because, like I said, it was a tie game. That's where we didn't get the girl again, right?
I know.
We just didn't.
But anything else with the defense?
No, not really. I mean, I think that's just the big one. We kind of just we didn't tackle. That's the big story of the game. And this team without JoJo. I'm just thinking about this team next year. They did the young guy Gunnarsson had to play, and he's a good-looking kid. Like he's big.
Yeah,
he's kind of got the build. We've all been kind of like waiting for, but I don't know if he's got the game right now. We'll see where what he develops into. But he had to play because Caleb Tanner got hurt. Garrett Nelson, the Ultimate Warrior, was shaking the ropes a few plays.
Oh,
he missed some tackles, but I mean his sack and he's coming along.
I think Graham Mertz, I think his little sleeve, I think that was like the Warrior like Wolverined him and like ripped his sleeve.
It's about right. Yeah.
But I mean, anytime Garrett Nelson makes play, I get Ultimate Warrior gifts sent to me.
We were all shaking the ropes.
You gotta love that kid. Yeah. But last thought on Braylon Allen, like, and I know you and I beat this drum all the time, but like, don't talk yourself into Dedrick Mills, and don't talk yourself into like that guy
changes. Like,
how many?
What would our team look like if we had him?
So I guess people want to poo-poo that, and I'm not saying that like it's not all. They're talented enough to not be 3-8, but nevertheless, you have a few. Just Braylon Allen or whoever, Kenneth Walker, like, and things change quickly. Yeah. But that guy, there were so many times he broke tackles. You made one mistake and he scored. Like that's what I mean. When I'm watching the game with the guys,
that's the thing I kept saying is like, I just don't see us breaking enough tackles or making people miss at the second level. Like when the times we do get through, it's almost like, I think it was Marvin Scott the third. he actually broke a tackle and he got called back. But like, I was like, you just don't see us breaking tackles ever.
I mean, Yance one run against Northwestern.
Like 2 or 3 runs a year we're seeing.
Like you can count on one hand the amount of times like broke some tackles.
Made a run. And see, then like, Wisconsin sees it every week.
Right.
Like a few times. That's where it's like these running backs, you got to win sometimes. Like you can't just be wide open. Like sometimes it's like you make a miss in the hole. Sometimes you break a tackle and you get
It just
20.
feels like there's so much pressure on Frost right now to call the perfect play. Yeah. Because if any play is going to require like a running back to have to kind of like win, it's probably not going to happen.
We just haven't done it. Like
I don't know.
You know what? It's like you watch these guys, like they're really hard to tackle and you just go, it's not even a thought in our head about like, oh, this running back's going to break a tackle.
No. Offensively. I mean, again, this is the number 1 defense in the country. And Nebraska kind of moved the ball up and down the field on them the whole game.
Yeah.
Martinez throws for 351 yards, and they threw the ball down the field. Did you see anything that was different?
That package of those sort of like, it was sort of that goofy, like,
what does that do? You talking about the motion with the...
Yeah, it was the motion, and then it was a lot of that, like, we had one, like, guard would pull
to roll the pocket
as a roll, and then Adrian was always backing up. It was like, it felt like he was really under pressure,
right.
But he was throwing these deep, like, they had lots of these over routes that were just dicing Wisconsin's defense.
Right.
So they saw something with the tight ends and these, like, over routes, these, like, layered over routes where you have, like, different layers.
Right.
And Wisconsin couldn't. I mean, we were open every time.
I mean, early in the game, they hit a deep ball to Toure. They hit a handful of those. I mean, Toure has seven catches, 113 yards and a touchdown. Austin Allen sets a tight end record, 7 catches, 143 yards. Those two dudes were playing out of their mind.
Yeah, those two were just creasing them. So
Martinez, there's a whole bunch of other stuff to get into with the offense, but like he is going to go down in history as one of the most fascinating figures and players to ever play at Nebraska because he becomes the all-time career leader in total offense in Nebraska football history. Wow. Yet if he leaves, think about this now. Like if he leaves, he is going to be, you're going to open, 200 years from now, they're going to open up a record book and be like, who is this Adrian? Are we back to hieroglyphics? Adrian Martinez must be great player. We need to build statue for Adrian. But we don't have record of win-losses. All we have is career leader in total offense.
This guy has yards, I
cannot believe how many yards he put up. That's so stupid. But it's amazing. It's amazing. He's the all-time career leader in total offense. And if Friday, Black Friday is his last game, he's going to leave the University of Nebraska without a single winning season, not a single bowl game appearance. And I don't even know if he'll have a signature moment or win.
He's just going to have a lot of losses on his record.
A lot of yards, a lot of losses.
A lot of losses. In the end, you just go. I really felt like, we do this like every couple of games. We have these like 3-game stretches that we're like, in this, everything will change if these next 3 games. I took Wisconsin, and I was like, if he could win both of these games and play great, people will want him back.
Right. Everybody
might come back.
They want to I feel like everybody wants to want him back.
Because he's a great guy. He's a great kid.
A+ 5-star, greatest dude in the world.
Great dude, great teammate.
Tough.
Does everything right. Tough, playing through pain. He's doing everything you could ask a human being to do, but this person can't win. And so, I feel like he had these 2 games to get himself back in we want him to be our quarterback. Maybe he'll come back. And I wouldn't mind having him on the team. Right. But I think you got to bring in somebody else to compete with him now. But I think the fans are almost like, well, in the writers, you can hear the writers like, well, he can't come back, right? Like it's almost like they're trying to like hint to them or something.
You remember when in 7th grade when I called your girlfriend to break up with her for you, and you called mine so we could watch WrestleMania?
Yeah,
Steve Austin, Mike Tyson, and we got Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Great day.
Did live peak in like 96?
Great decision.
I think everybody. I bring that up to be like, I feel like everybody has to take the chicken shit route we went, and like Frost is gonna have to have like somebody call Adrian and like break up for him.
I think they're gonna be like, if he can't beat Iowa, it's just gonna be really hard to be like. But you know what, Nick? Here's the thing: is like, if you can't get another quarterback,
that's the problem.
And you got Smothers and you got
Hey, get your hands off my
Hey, get your hands off my. I just go.
That's
he's still the best option. He's still the best option.
You can, and we have a lot of time. Maybe I think maybe we'll learn the answer to this question sooner than we think.
Yeah.
But it's easy to just say like, "Hey, Martinez, I'll pack your bags for you. Hit I-80 the hell out of town." But
he's also had the most yards in the history of Nebraska football. Like he's sort of like he's played through injuries. Like if he says he wants to come back, I think you're under the obligation to say like, "Yes, we'll take you back."
But I think my guess is if that's the case, because I think I talked about this in one of my last pods where it's like, I think the answer to is Martinez going to be the guy really rests in whoever the new offensive coordinator is. Yeah. You talked about like he needs to be the one to make like the decision on I want that guy or I want Martinez or whatever. But if you do bring Martinez back, I do think you got to bring in another quarterback and there needs to be a legitimate like open competition.
Oh yeah.
But if that's the case, you wonder if, part of me wonders if Martinez just wants to like, he needs a new change of scenery.
What I would want to know is like, does he see himself as a guy that's like, I'm just done with football? Or is he like, does he see himself as like, I still think I can be a pro, or I want to go somewhere else?
That's a good question.
And play. Like, I actually hope he doesn't want to go somewhere else and play because
you kind of feel like, couldn't you just see it next year?
It all clicks from next year.
And he's just like, Adrian Martinez, the greatest player of all time.
Wins the Heisman Trophy. I'd be
like, okay.
Nebraska fans would be like,
it's over. It would be so frustrating. But I don't know. It's just the fact that he breaks the all-time record in that game. And he was, again, the number one defense in the country.
Made him look
up
average
for 351.
Yeah. Made him look average.
And then apparently got banged up enough to where they burned Logan Smothers' red shirt on like 2 plays where Smothers just like handed the ball. That burned his red shirt.
Really?
That's what I thought I read that burned his red shirt. Because apparently it was bad enough that they didn't know his shoulder was bad enough at halftime. They weren't totally sure if he was going to be able to like come back. And apparently his second pick, Frost said that Martinez blamed it on his shoulder, but that could be classic. Like, it
was, I don't know about the decision didn't look good.
That was a horrific pass.
Yeah.
That thing was so bad that the receiver, Manning couldn't even get to the safety to try to break it up. That's how bad the pass was. But I don't know. We've had it's just Martinez is fascinating.
It's weird. Like you can even tell probably as we're saying this, like for us to say he's not coming back in the same way, you kind of go, does this need to happen? It scares you to say it because you go, are we making a mistake? Even though we can't win with him as our quarterback right now, it feels like a mistake saying it for some reason. Well, it does. It's such a weird, situation.
Obviously, life doesn't necessarily work like this, but like I need to know what's coming in before I'm cool with what's going out.
That's a good point.
It's easy. Remember Tanner Lee was supposed to be like, he's a combination of Elway, Marino, Aikman, Montana, Steve Young, little bit of Fran Tarkenton. Like, that's pretty much what he was described as. And Tanner Lee was like, not that. So, again, it's easy. We've talked about this. Why does phone sex work? Why did the sunglasses theory? It's like you fill in that unknown void with best case scenario, right?
Yeah.
It's easy right now to call 1-800-new quarterback phone sex and be like, oh, baby. Oh, yeah. You like to win close games?
Oh,
man. Oh, he's good at close games.
How do you run the 2-minute drill again? Oh, You spiked it. You spiked to the right time.
Oh yeah, buddy. What, you got a 2-minute drill for me? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you gonna spike it? Spike it.
Yeah, just check down up the field. Check down all the way up the field. They're giving it to you. Take it what they get.
Oh my God. That might be of all the things we've ever done.
That's the dumbest, I think.
The best. So I don't know. I mean, it's because you're right. Like I feel like if he would have come through and won that game, and then maybe they turn around and beat Iowa, like then maybe people are like,
people are rooting for him. They want him to be the guy.
They want
all
it to
they
work.
gotta do is win. You don't even have to play perfect.
No.
All you gotta do is get W's. You could throw 6 picks, and if you win, they don't care.
Right.
They want you to win. We're just not. If you don't win, it gets really hard to be like, let's
run it back.
And what's weird is we all know it's not all his fault.
No,
but like we don't have any other answers, so like you feel like you got to blame somebody almost, and it's like it feels very unfair because you see him dice up Wisconsin for most of the game, but then he throws a couple bad picks.
That's the problem.
And
he's still, as much as it's not all his fault, he still makes the back-breaking mistakes or doesn't make the throws late.
Yeah.
I mean, just that situation on Saturday afternoon, like he just has never come through in that spot.
Yeah, when it counts,
he just hasn't.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I think I was talking to Chris about, like, you know, Aaron Rodgers, and the difference is, like, when you get to that level, that like extreme talent, that go, like, you've won it so many times that like everybody in the building knows you just can't let him have the ball because it's over. If he gets it, he's going to beat you.
Brady, Aaron Rodgers, those guys. It's like,
and right now we have the feeling like if we have the ball and it's late, we don't feel like it's going to happen. We feel everything. We all kind of go in the back of our head. We're like, and that's not a good, like, and that's as unfair as it is. Like, if that's where we're at, like, it just gets really hard to keep doing it.
Yeah, because I mean,
because it's a mental thing. We have a mental block.
Clearly,
it's not a physical problem we have. We have a mental problem with our close game losses. It's us. We have, as a Nebraska team, we have a mental problem. That's it. And we're stuck. We're stuck in neutral. We don't know how to just shift and get into gear and win the game. We've been stuck, and we're stuck. And right now we're trying to figure out how to get out of this like stuck state.
It's bizarre. I think before we get to the last sequence of the game, what was Yant was a healthy scratch, right? Yant he was fine. He just he couldn't play, or he just DNP'd. Okay,
don't know.
Whatever.
Ramir was out.
Sevion left, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
And then obviously our boy Gabe Irvin got hurt months ago. So I mean, all of a sudden your running back situation. Brody Belt's out there getting his black belt game right. Yeah. He did
Brody did pretty good.
He did decent, you know.
Marvin Scott ran pretty good. He hadn't had a touch all year, basically.
Marquis Step
did fine.
Fine. I mean, I thought you were able to piece together a formidable running back attack.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I thought for the most part, although it did feel like Adrian. It felt like every play was like, all right, get a shotgun snap. Adrian's going to take a 17-yard drop and throw it off his back foot. Probably because, I mean, that pass rush was coming. But for the most part, like, again, I thought the O-line did all right.
Yeah. Just a couple of bad holds. I thought one was a bad call on Cochran. Yep. But, I mean, Ben Hart's hold at the end of the game.
It's a killer.
It's killer. I mean, it's
a killer, man.
It's one of those two that it wasn't a hard play to get to. He just needed to move his feet a little bit. And then sometimes you just shove and ride. You don't hold in those moments. I don't know. That's too bad because we were in a position. And once we went back, I feel like everybody in the building kind of went, that's our chance to lose it now.
Should we get to the final sequence?
Yeah.
So, obviously, Braylon Allen, who just got his driver's license a year ago, which is crazy.
So just help me out here. He can't buy cigarettes.
I don't think
he cannot be join the military.
I mean,
but he can run through.
But he can.
He's 17
years old.
Dang.
It's just, and that guy. It's nuts.
He squats. They were showing the thing. He squats like 600. Yeah. I mean,
what did you ever max squat at? I never.
I couldn't squat.
To me, maxing squats.
We would do.
Kill yourself.
Oh, I like literally like they didn't have me squat because my back. So I did lunges. But I used to lunge 405 pounds. Oh. And the thought is like now, like if I had to put 405 pounds on my back, I would just collapse. I think.
When the bar starts bending.
Oh.
I always feel real stressed. You ever have, I mean, like when you're at the gym and some guys give me a spot real quick and it's like heavy, it's like relatively heavy. 2 men, when you squat another man on a spot on a squat, you're like, all right, here we go. Here we go. All right, we're going down. Oh, yeah.
There you go, big boy. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Spotting a squat is like, might as well be Ace and Gary. I mean,
yeah, it's
pretty, a little, but yeah, when I saw that, they showed that clip early in the game. I was like, great. This guy squats 610 pounds.
I want one of those guys.
I know. But so after 6'10", 17-year-old squatter busts one.
Yeah.
Little under 4 minutes, all 3 timeouts left. Here comes Martinez. Pretty good little drive going. Yeah. Scrambles, hits different receivers. They're marching their way down the field. They get the ball to Teray, and Teray makes a hell of a play.
I love that play.
Yeah, he catches it, turns. He's got about a yard and a half to get the first down, and he kind of dances, and then he does that perfect thing where he, left, right, and then just splits 2 guys and gets the first down.
But it was a winning play.
Yes.
Like, that was the type of play you make. It's a winning effort, which like sometimes I question guys understanding that in our team. He clearly gets it. I love that play. So that was where I think if we ever felt like confidence was like,
I kind of felt like, remember Adrian watching Rocky fighting Drago? I was like, you're gonna do it. I kind of felt like
he's cut.
I felt like Adrian when Teray made the play. I was like, you're gonna do it. You're gonna finally win a one-score game. But so here's the thing, though. Teray makes the first down.
Yeah.
Gets at the ball. Ball's at the Wisconsin 23. All 3 timeouts left. Nebraska, which I'm fine with this because you had all 3 timeouts. If you wanted to run the ball, you could. They run the ball. They run the ball to Brody Belt, and he gets stuffed. This is where I haven't reading different things. I thought Frost sitting on a timeout here was a mistake because they let about almost 40 seconds run off the clock because the play ends with about 1:14 and the next play ends at 34 seconds.
Yeah, that to me was a mistake in the sense of we put too much pressure on ourselves at the end of the game because I get the idea. Like we didn't want to stop the clock because we didn't want to give Wisconsin any chance if we could score.
Right.
But I think we got too relaxed with the amount of time we had. We probably should have just let it run, but we really like slowed down,
got subs, did the reads, all that stuff.
We weren't trying to go fast. I mean, we should have been going, and if you run off, 15 seconds instead of 40, you're still in where you need to be. It's that extra 20, 30 seconds where we needed it later and we didn't have it.
Because I do think when all of a sudden you look up and the clock's at 30, 34 seconds, your pressure anxiety goes up where it's like, oh my God, this game's almost over.
Yeah. Then it's
it just changes the dynamic of things. But nevertheless, I thought that was a mistake.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when I heard Frost talk about I didn't want to give them too much time, like that's like Screech going on a date with Lisa or Urkel going on a date with Laura Winslow and like stopping off and buying like mints just in case there's a kiss goodnight. It's like, how about you just get through the date?
Yeah.
Like
it's,
come on. But Then 2nd down and 10, pass interference on Wisconsin trying to throw the ball to Austin Allen. So now the ball gets down to the 11-yard line. 1st and 10 at the 11. It was Ben Hart, right? Here comes the hold.
Yeah.
Backs Nebraska up 10 yards. So now it's 1st and 10 with the ball at the 21-yard line with 30 seconds left. And 3 really bad plays.
Yeah.
But this is where I in a weird way, I think the time it felt like Adrian. It was like Adrian felt like he had to take 4 shots at the end zone.
Yeah. So the time and being 1st and 20, because
you have timeouts.
You had timeouts, but the difference is if Ben Hart doesn't get the hold.
Well, the hold's
you know what I mean? Then it's second. It's 2nd and
10 at the 11.
At the 11. And you know what? Our playbook opens way up.
Right.
You can run it. Like you could run an option. You can do whatever. You could run a QB draw.
Yes.
The hold
screws up everything.
The hold made it just so much. The degree of difficulty went up huge.
Because basically it does. I say taking shots at the end zone. I get it. Like you basically were it's 1st and goal at the 20.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could try to go halfway.
I just feel like they could have tried to
could have, but like you said, the hold puts you back in a position where you just feel really uncomfortable.
Yes.
We had timeouts. So the time, I mean, it didn't kill you, but like I said, I think the pressure got put up.
The combination of all of a sudden you're at the 20, it's 1st and 20 at the 21, and there's 30 seconds left. That combination got everybody rattled.
It does. It's unnecessary pressure that we put on ourselves, and with the hold, it made it just difficult. And that's a recipe to lose when you get down to 10 with 30 seconds to go. I mean,
and so 1st and 20, Martinez gets flushed out to the right and has to throw it away. 2nd and 20. Of another one of those back foot throws to Teray that is incomplete, that was down near the pylon.
Yeah.
And then 3rd and 20, Teray was actually open. This is where they finally didn't necessarily. Teray was open at the 10-yard line.
Yeah. And
Martinez, of course, how he has missed his entire life. He was high, way high and long. Now, granted, I mean, the pressure at this point, Jim Leonard is like, he's just like bringing the house almost every play.
Yeah.
But I felt like they could have ran. Remember the touchdown that Teray had where they were bringing the house and Teray slipped underneath on a bunch formation?
Yeah.
Like I feel like you could have done something like that.
I think, this is where it's hard. In retrespect, you go,
yeah,
it's easy to say what the hell do I know about
anything?
But that's just something to think. Like in that situation, I think looking back, which is easier than in the moment.
Sure.
I think you go halfway on the first, because it would have been 1st and 20 after the hold, right?
It was 1st and 20 from the 21. You could have run some sort of intermediate route.
First play is get back to the line of scrimmage, then you still have 3 plays to go.
Right.
Where I think the harder play is deep.
Right.
I think that's where we should have went short.
Right.
It's easier in retrospect, but like I said, I think all these factors, the big thing too is like, just don't hold in the 10. Just don't hold.
So then here comes the final play of the game, 4th and 20.
Yeah.
First of all, it was interesting to look back on it and that Samori Toure wasn't on the field. Now, do you think that was like they wanted to get
Allen and Vokalek down the middle of the field? Was probably, I think he's actually, I mean, you got Betts out there, probably
Manning. I thought it was Betts, Manning, and Falk or Martin.
No, for a while it was Vokalek and Allen.
Oh, okay.
So the first couple downs.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, shouldn't Teray be in? He probably should have.
Right.
But
because he was in on 2nd and 3rd.
Okay. So I think that the package probably had those bigger guys out there.
Right.
So it's a high throw and it's okay.
I mean, whatever. I'm not going to sit here and
in the end, Omar or Teray and a throw up, it's different than like underneath route running where I think Teray's even better.
Right. But I thought that was interesting. You're talking about a guy, but
in the end, it's fine. It doesn't make
so okay. I mean,
because Betts on a jump ball, I take over maybe Teray.
You have your 4 best traffic catchers are going to be Allen, Betts, Manning, and probably Vokalek.
Probably. I mean, yeah, probably.
And those 4 guys are on the field.
That's
so
where it's
whatever,
fine.
But
it doesn't make a difference there. It's just you're in a tough spot 1st and 20
it's a
or 4th and 20.
spot.
It's just tough. Like the situation was like we talked about Vegas earlier. Like, what are your odds first and or like 4th and 5 from the 5 or 4th and 20 from the 22? Like, it goes so far down the chances of getting that just by being that far away.
And then, okay, so they throw the ball to Betts and brutal missed pass interference. Brutal.
Bad call. I mean, just a bad missed call.
But you brought it up the second you walked in to my house today. Betts could have done a better job probably of selling it, because you got to lose your mind there.
Yeah, it's akin to a basketball player at the end of the game. If you go down the lane,
right,
you get hit, you better sell that you got hit.
Right.
Or if you're a soccer player and you're on a breakaway, the game's on the line, and somebody tackles the ball out, you better be rolling with that leg like I just broke my ankle with that. Like, that is part of your job, is to sell it. And I think as fans, it didn't look egregious.
In real time, I'm not going to lie. In real time, I didn't.
Betts didn't react at all. And then you see the replay and you go, oh my God, he hacked his arms. And he got there and hacked his arm before the ball could get there.
And he hit it like he not only he hit his body in the air. I mean, it's the most obvious pass interference in the world. And it's just frustrating. I'm one of those guys, I don't necessarily like to blame the refs or even talk about the refs, but man, it's like, it feels like Nebraska is a little bit snake bit this year in every 50-50 big spot, call, no call. They all go against Nebraska.
They called that hold. I mean, the hold on Benhart wasn't even great, but it's like they call that with 30 seconds to go. We don't get the call there. It's like,
well, you just think
that's a bad 1-2. Like, if you're gonna miss one, miss the hole.
Well, just think, just right now, go back through the season, and it's like Caleb Tanner late hit Illinois, wipes off an interception in the first half. That was a huge turning point. The Buffalo game, they had 3 touchdowns called back, or at least 2 of them called back that were bad calls.
Yeah.
The Michigan game, joint possession on a muff punt return.
Oof.
The pass interference on JoJo that moves the ball down inside the 5, where Michigan's unable to punch it in.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm forgetting calls in the Purdue, Ohio State, whatever, but it's just, and now you add this one to the list. It's amazing how Nebraska just seems to end up on the wrong side of those calls all the time.
Yeah. I mean, we don't do ourselves any favors, but even if you're trying to be objective and you're not a Husker fan like we are, who are just,
of course,
we want them, everything to go our way. Like, you can't tell me that things haven't just gone unevenly bad for us with calls.
And even look at the body language of the defensive back. He lands on the ground and it's like,
he knew he just interfered.
I just fucking
so I mean,
PI'd.
You can't get. I'm not upset at Betts for not selling.
No.
It's a learning. To me, it's a learning moment. Like, if you're a receiver, it's your job to sell it in that moment. I don't like receivers that sell it every play. Time. It's you don't sell it until it's a big play and you need to sell it. When they interfere, you better let everybody in the stadium know. So then they go, oh, that guy never does that.
Right.
So it's something serious, because I always say you got a 2 count. 1,000, 2 1,000 after that play's over, that the ref can still pull his flag.
Right.
Because if it goes past that, nobody's pulling their flag. Like, you can turn and be like, and he'll be like, yeah, I got you.
Right.
They'll throw it if you go hard at them.
Or it's unfortunate. Now we're getting way in it's unfortunate that game was in Madison and not Lincoln, because it's also, you'd have had 90,000 people doing the freaking out for you, probably,
True.
But because that would have, if that gets called, it's half the distance. So they're at about the 10 with they'd had one more play, because I think there was 4 seconds left.
But that's where
that time makes a difference. That's what I would like. That's why I wanted to bring it up. Like, think if that play if let's say they throw the flag, Frost could have had 30 seconds left in that spot.
And you got 3 plays.
But he would have only had 1 play left. So that's just
where you want to leave people with nothing. I think that's another learning moment for me was I like the idea of using the clock to your advantage. Don't let them have, but like
right.
in the end, your job is like, we got to score. When you're down, okay, if it's tied,
right.
If they were tied, that's the right play.
Totally agree. It's totally when you're down 7. Or maybe if you're Bruce Arians and you got Tom Brady, you can do some assuming that Tom's gonna get it. You know what I mean?
Maybe a little bit more, but
I still don't like it.
I don't like it until you are. I don't know. I just felt like we weren't close enough.
I didn't.
We weren't close enough to the end zone where we were like, I didn't think we could afford to. I think you run it down late. Like later on, you find a way to be like, okay, now let's run this 30 down, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. And listen, this isn't like you can call my father-in-law and my brother-in-law. We were watching the game together, and I was yelling about this in real time.
I was too.
Like I didn't like the management of that at all, and it could have fucking bit them if they throw that flag.
Yeah, it didn't matter now, but that's like we're talking about this game management stuff. Like that's the stuff where I don't want to have to be like as the person not coaching, like questioning what's going on. Like it should just, that's where it's like,
right.
We need to get better at that.
So then obviously ball game, Nebraska loses 35-28. The one thing we haven't really talked about, we talked about it a little bit, but like, I mean, the kickoff return, and then even the Alante Brown kickoff hits.
Forget when you call a fair catch, you better catch it.
Right. And it just, I mean, so you go through it, it's like Nebraska's given up punt returns, kickoff returns. They've had extra points blocked. They've had a safety on a punt return. It's just, I almost feel like Frost has to hire a special teams coordinator, doesn't he?
Yeah. And you know what? And I mean,
and we'll get more. I just feel like at this point,
let's talk about like what, because I guess I don't know this process right now. They're out. They can go try to hire people from teams right now, and
I would think so. I mean, I don't
commit. I mean, I guess people can,
but nothing's ever official until you know.
Yeah, but you can hire somebody right now. Like they don't have to be done. You can go hire them now.
But don't you feel like, I mean, because what's weird is I talk out of both sides of my mouth. In some ways, Frost has used the comment that in theory and in spirit, in the school of thought, I agree with her. It's like, we don't have a special teams problem. We have a specialists problem. And it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, like your field goal kicking, your punting, whatever. But like, I also kind of feel like the reality of this situation is you got 1 year to get this. Like basically it's next year. Like you got to win or it's over.
Yeah. And
in all reality, I need to like think about this more with that it's really, you got like 6 games with the way the buyout and how that moves based on a certain point. Like to me, at this point, you just want to tell Frost, like, this is going to be your 5th year. Every year. This isn't like a one-time thing. Every single year, special teams has been horrifically bad and you can directly tie a line to it costing you a lot of games. Wouldn't, if you're going to go for one final season, wouldn't it behoove you to go out and I think I don't know. I mean,
to me, it all works if Frost can be the quarterback's coach. Well, I guess he's trying to be more CEO over everything, right?
But
So this is where it's hard. This is where the which I still don't really understand this. Why do you have a limit on coaches?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why does that matter?
I don't know.
Like, why do you like? Because to me, it's like, why can't every position group have a coach?
I don't know.
I think that's stupid. Like that's a rule that I go, why?
So you think there should be a position coach? You're not saying, you could have a staff of 40 dudes, but every position group should have a position coach. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, like you have to have cornerbacks and safeties together because there's not enough, or you have to have you can't have a quarterbacks coach because you don't have enough guys. And it's like, or, tight ends, they're talking about maybe having the tight ends and receivers be together. I'm like, well,
those are two very different.
Yeah. I guess O-line together. Yeah. But maybe you could even D-line sometimes, like they get D-line and outside linebackers together, or I just think it's like, I just think it's dumb. You can't have as many coaches as you want. Like, what's the difference? Like,
right. Well, yeah. I mean, and it feels like all of the things that used to be in place with how you build a roster and the rules around that on a variety of levels, those things are crumbling down.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And so,
but on that point,
I guess, I don't know.
So here's the issue. If you hire a special teams coach full-time, it means you either don't get a quarterbacks coach, or you have to take away from the defense, or you have to take away from the offense. So that's either quarterbacks coach, or they talked about combining receivers and tight ends. So like Sean Beckton would have to coach the tight ends and the wide receivers, who do some of the same things, but like tight ends also block a lot more, right? So, it gets hard. I
wish, here's the problem is we're sitting now. The beauty of sports is it's a bottom line business. And regardless of what you know about the process, it's either working or it's not.
Yes.
So I can't sit here and tell you that, no, they're actually doing the right things with special teams, but clearly, clearly they're not.
Well,
clearly, I'm not trying to disparage Mike Dawson or anything. Because it's just clearly it's not
good enough. And I think it'd be better if they did get a full-time, but they got to get a good, to me, it's like,
you got to go hire
if you hire a bad full-time special teams coach, then you have hurt your team in two places where you got the wrong guy there, and you take away from another position group having people. So if you're going to hire a special teams coach, it's got to be a great special teams coach.
Right. But don't you think,
best
I would
in the
think,
business?
In some ways, I think when Frost is sitting down, it's like priority number one needs to be the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
That needs to be, you need to scour heaven and earth to find the best person possible to be your OC. I'm not so sure second on that list isn't finding the best special teams coordinator you can find.
Yeah.
Because again, we're doing it now. It's easy to dismiss special teams. It's easy right now to be like, oh, you better have another assistant that can do. It's like, well, it is. This has lost. This could be the thing that sinks Frost's career here.
Yeah. And that's where, Nick, we got to take a real look in the mirror and go, what do we prioritize? And that's right. Maybe that's it. Now the issue becomes, can you find the
That's
guy?
why I don't know what that guy, and I don't know enough about special teams is such an interesting thing to try to sink your teeth into, because I don't even necessarily know, I can't even tell you who's the greatest special teams coordinator in the world. Would that guy come in and change it that fast? I
think a really good one would make a difference. I think there's got to be some. I read Frost reading about everybody talks to you just leave your specialists alone because it's worse if you I think yes and no. I don't know. To me, it's I think the people have done it on a high level or in the pros. Or I think there's got to be something to how good you teach.
And again,
that.
It's easy, and I'm guilty of it. I am a hypocrite with this stuff. I say, oh, do you have a special teams problem, or do you just have Connor Culp losing his mind and all of a sudden can't kick, or do you have Pristup and Cerny punting it 10 yards or the wrong way? But it's not just, it's you get zero. You have zero chance to ever have a good kickoff return or punt return. Zero chance.
Yeah.
A guy that you were there with, Santino Panico, he's been a running joke amongst people around these parts. Be like, well, what are you fair catching like Panika? I can do it. You can do it. And he's going to end up with more, double the punt return yards than Nebraska's punt return yards this year. And he was the rim shot joke. We
didn't play, our special teams wasn't ever an asset for us.
Right.
All we try to do is to make it not a liability. All we try to do is be let's just don't mess up. The game. But it's never we're kicking field goals, we're pinning people, we're returning kicks, we're returning punts, we're blocking punts. It's only please don't mess up.
Right.
That's the problem with our special teams. Our mindset is don't mess up and not let's do good here. Let's do something that's sort of where we're at.
Because I just think in some ways you got to reverse engineer this thing. You got to sit there and write down what has been the issues. Like Frost needs to sit down and goes, why are we at this point? Well, special teams, details and management, lack of difference makers at important skill spots like running back, those kinds of, and I think you then can go, okay, well then how do we address those things? Maybe you need a special teams coordinator. Maybe you need some better recruiters for skill spots.
Yeah, I think that's a big an O coordinator that has some juice that like people are excited to come here for, and then a running backs coach, and an O-line coach that can go get some dudes.
And then maybe like, even though I don't know if he's necessarily built this way perfectly, like, and then you could potentially Frost becomes that CEO where then managing things, details, all that stuff, like that stuff gets addressed because now he's in charge of that.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. And I'll be interested to see, we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but like with this offensive coordinator, you've heard, you hear some names that like, I don't know if you got time for a huge philosophical shift. You know what I mean?
And here's the part that's so interesting is like, would you want them to change after like, we've seen like, we kind of like, we can move the ball and we can do some things with this offense, but like, do you want to see us go? Like I've heard the name Jerry Kill.
I've heard that name too.
And like, you know what you're going to get? It's like the Minnesota, like two tights, like
ball control, chew the clock.
Which are you ready for that move? That sort of big change in philosophy.
It's not, I actually prefer that football. What I'm saying is the roster ready for that move?
That's part of
because
the deal.
You don't have time to. That's a big shift.
Yeah.
You've recruited to play a certain way. So in some ways, like, I almost think you're pot committed with this style to a certain extent. I'm not saying you gotta go hire Chip Kelly if he gets axed at UCLA. Like, but I mean,
what's hard is I don't know that for sure. Just because we got Betts and Manning coming back, Martin. We lose Teray. The Martinez questions everything, and another quarterback to everything. But then I think Austin Allen is probably going to try to go pro.
I mean, he's played his way into being in the conversation.
Like Vokalek Fedoni and Gabe Urban's probably our best running back coming back. But like, I don't know. What could we run?
Yeah,
I think with that like team, you could run something different, but it's also like it's a big shift, right? That's a big change.
So it's going to be interesting.
Especially, it would be a big change for Frost.
Right.
Frost is like, this is what he's done for a decade now. And I think it's going to be hard for him to give up like his Oregon thing. That's his offense. I think he's confident in his ability. Like what he's been doing to teams this year in the Big Ten. I think you keep hearing from announcers on TV, like this Nebraska team, though, they're dynamic. They're doing like you hear this stuff, but we can't put it all together and win. But like I think Frost still believes he can.
Yeah,
so that's what's hard about like the philosophical. We're going to go Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, ground and pound. Like, are we going to go? Are we going to make the move to the Big Ten? Like fully, like we kind of did with defense. We got bigger. We got sort of like.
I just think that's hard. You would know better than I would, but I think that's a hard thing to do in one off season.
Well, that's the choice we got to make. But if you're going to do it, this is the year, right?
Right. I mean,
so it's like who they're bringing as the coordinator is going to be the telling tale.
Yeah, because if they bring in like Mark Helfrich or something like that, then you're like, okay, well then clearly this is just they're doubling down on like this stuff, which is like, I mean, listen, they move the ball, they just don't score.
So me, it's like,
I mean, it's
in the end. I don't know. I can see it both ways.
So can I.
I don't know that I have in my mind what I think is the right move. I don't know that I have the right, like the idea, but it's going to be, I'm going to be very interested to see who they choose. That offensive coordinator spot, like whoever they hire, which I assume they're going to try to get that done in like by a week from now.
I was going to say, like, I would think, you need to get, I mean, with the early signing period and all that stuff, you need to have someone in place immediately.
I got to think that is on its way.
I mean, because, again, like that's the number one defense in the country, and Frost was in charge of like scheming it up. And
Yeah.
he fucking lit them up. They didn't.
No.
I mean, they lost the game, but
that's where it's like the offense. It's like it's been. I think we're pretty harsh on it as Husker fans, and because we're not getting the results we want with W's, but it's weird. Like we do get yards. I mean, a lot of them are junk yards. That's what I'll say though. There's some of the end of the game.
A lot of it. I mean,
we should say, but like, then there are those moments like, you know, they played, you know, you play Northwestern, you play Oklahoma, you play, you know, Michigan, you play, Wisconsin there, and you really do it during the game against good teams, and you go, gosh, I don't know. It is
some
pretty
fascinating things that you got to be like. But you're right. We're gonna get these answers pretty quick.
I mean, Florida's got a.
Florida just.
I mean,
there's so many jobs open. Florida, USC, LSU. I mean, TCU. I don't know if TCU actually hired somebody yet or whatever.
I mean, new thing though, fire coaches before the end of the year so you can just like.
I don't know. I think with the new signing period in December, it changes things.
It must be. It must be that important to have your ducks in a row going to the next offseason.
I guess.
Is like, it's kind of bizarre how many coaches are fired.
Virginia Tech, Justin Fuente's gone. Like, there's a lot of jobs open. Anything we're missing with this other than the new quarterback phone sex line that
I think we better call in.
All right, we're gonna end this pod. We're gonna call that.
Okay. That would end.